station of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
This is Jay Bruce wishing a happy Father's Day to all the dads in Reds country.
This is Todd Frasier wishing a happy Father's Day to all the dads in Reds country.
This is Devin Mizaraco, and I wanted to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day, especially to my dad, Doug Mizaraco.
On this Father's Day, Major League Baseball raises awareness for prostate cancer with the Home Run Challenge. And a huge crowd rolling into Miller Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. It is the rubber game of this series between the Reds and the Brewers. And so many dads hanging out with their children on this Father's Day 2014. And a happy Father's Day to each and every one of you dads out there. Same to you, Mr. Welsh. Great to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. And the Reds trying to get out of here with 2 wins in 3 games after a tough one yesterday. And they are hoping that Mike Leake will be the same Mike Leake we've seen pretty much a whole year until his last couple of outings.
Well, maybe he will. After all, he's a new dad himself.
That's right.
They had a baby in around the spring training time for Mike Leake. You know, he's been hampered a little bit recently by a sore neck. It happened a few starts ago. He wasn't as bad last time out as it was earlier in the year. But you see the very small sample size of a couple of starts. That's where you are with Mike Leake, though. You've raised the bar of expectations so high. You expect this guy, who really started the season as a number 4 or 5 starter, to pitch like an ace because he's been like that most of the year. The run support for Mike Leake has been horrible. The run support for Marco Estrada has been tremendous. Other than that, these guys are really different pitchers as well. Leake a ground ball pitcher, Estrada a fly ball pitcher, gives up a lot of home runs, and we'll see if the Reds can't get him that way today.
All right, so we're just about set for baseball. When we come back, Jim Day is going to revisit the 2014 debut of Big Matt Latos. He was dealing here yesterday.
of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
They love their sports in Wisconsin, and they love their brew crew, and why not? First place Brewers hosting the Reds today. Rubber game of a 3-game set coming up on Fox Sports Ohio. Hi again, everyone. I'm Jim Day on the field just outside of the Reds dugout. Reds did not win the game last night, obviously, but what a boost in the arm they got with the return of Matt Latos. It's like making a midseason trade for an ace of a pitching staff. And he came out of the gates firing. 87 pitches, went 6 innings. They did take him out on that first outing, but 2 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts. It was an emotional day for him, but talking to him today, he was glad to be out there.
Got thrown into the fire real quick against the team that's leading the Central. It was emotional, that's for sure. Like I said yesterday, just to go through what I've been through since October, and it turned out to be a good day.
Latos is back for the long haul, but today they'll turn that ball over to Mike Leake. The Reds hope they're brewing up a series victory. The Brew Crew, the Reds, coming up. Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By AT&T, mobilizing your world. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Welcome back to Milwaukee's Miller Park, where the hometown Brewers have taken the field. They're the division leaders in the National League Central. Reds won the opener. And once more, Milwaukee rallied and hung on last night in a 4-2 win. So the decisive game of this series for Brian Price and the Redlegs in his starting lineup, presented by Meyer. Billy Hamilton at center, Todd Frasier and Joey Votto to start it. Brandon Phillips batting cleanup, Jay Bruce in right, Ryan Ludwig in left, with the latter third of Devin Mesoraco, Zach Cozart, and Mike Lee. Marco Estrada, 5-3 record, making his 14th start, an ERA slightly over 4.5.
He's a grinder. He's a guy that somehow gives the Brewers just about 6 innings every time, whether he's got really good stuff or whether his stuff is average. What the league has found against Estrada this year, that his stuff is conducive to hitting home runs. He's a prolific fly ball pitcher. And in this ballpark that can sometimes be very friendly to hitters, he's given up 20 of them so far this year. That's tops in the league.
Estrada a year ago, a 7-game winner with an ERA at 3.8. He made 21 starts. He spent 2 months on the disabled list with a strained left hamstring. But he really came on down the stretch, which made them believe he was in line for a good year this year. After he came off the DL, he had an ERA of barely over 2 in his last 9 starts of the year. Billy Hamilton coming off a very impressive Game 2, and of course he delivered the game-winning hit in the series opener on Friday night. Takes high, and it's called a strike by Doug Eddings. So we might be hearing it from both benches right from the get-go. There was a lot of jawing on both sides from last night's home plate umpire, Brian O'Nora. 0-2 on Hamilton. Hamilton had 2 hits, was on base 3 times, had a double and a home run last night.
Well, if you're a left-handed hitter and you're facing Marco Estrada today, you're going to see a lot of overhand fastballs, about 89, 90 miles an hour, and a lot of changeups. That is his go-to pitch.
Well, the roof is open for the first time in this series today. And the argument can be made that on Friday and Saturday they were both nicer days than we have today. Although 77 degrees, nothing wrong with that. Still 1-2 on Billy Hamilton. 251 batter. And after the 3 hits last night, that jumped 6 points to 257. 3 home runs, 16 batted in. In the air right field. Drifting back is Braun, and Billy Hamilton has homered to lead off the game. How about that? He has homered in each of his last 2 trips to the plate.
Well, last night he homered hitting right-handed, and tonight he hits left-handed and goes yard 2. So the switch hitter, who's really not been hitting left-handed all that long, gets a curveball in the inner part of the plate, and just like that, the Reds are 1 on the board.
Estrada is now allowed a home run in all but 1 of his 14 starts, and 21 of them overall on the year. 0-1 to Todd Frasier. Tardy on a fastball, and Estrada, like he was with Hamilton, in front 0-2. Reds 32 up, 35 down. The Brewers at 41 wins against 28 losses. Both the Pirates and the Cardinals came away with wins last night. And of course, after an off day tomorrow, the Reds will tee it up 3 games with a team directly in front of them in the Central Division standings, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hamilton has them off and running today. 2-2 now to Frasier. Take a look at that. 74% of the runs allowed this year by Marco Estrada, a direct result of the home run ball. And that is roughly 10% higher than the next closest pitcher.
Well, that tells you, if you're managing the Reds ball club, that obviously you're going to get runs. They're probably going to come from home runs. He's not the kind of pitcher to give up 2, 3, or 4 hits in an inning.
Frasier chased a pitch up in the strike zone and pops it up to Ryan Braun. 1 out. Take a look at Milwaukee on defense, presented by your Ford dealers. The same group we saw here yesterday, with the exception of first base. Last night, Lyle Overbay, Mark Reynolds gets a nod today. Well, both Frasier and Votto had rough games yesterday. He's striking out 3 times. Votto did have 1 hit and 4 at bats. Joey at .265 batter, 6 home runs and 15 batted in. Look out.
Now they're trying to come inside, but that one up and in right there. A miss a location, or perhaps it's a purpose pitch.
And then you paint the outside corner on the very next pitch. 1-2 on Joey Votto. See the career numbers for Votto against this Milwaukee right-hander. In his career against the Reds, Estrada 2-3 record in 10 games, 6 of those as a starter. And not a bad ERA, slightly over 3.5. Estrada received a no decision in his only start against the Reds this year back on the 1st of May. 6 innings, allowed 3 earned runs. That was a game the Reds won 8-3. That one laced into right field, a base hit by Votto.
A pretty good patient at bat for Joey Votto after getting dusted. In fact, really knocked it down. He ends up seeing Estrada go away, 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 and finally hung in there and got a changeup that he laced into right field.
Well, now Brandon Phillips about it. In the first inning in each of the first 2 games of this series, Phillips has knocked in a run. On Friday night, he had the RBI single plating Todd Frasier, wound up knocking in a pair in that game. Phillips had 2 hits and an RBI single that scored Billy Hamilton in the first inning yesterday. A ball and a strike on Brandon Phillips. Chris, I know you were not here yesterday, but I know you had a chance to catch some of the game. Well, what a great effort that was from Matt Latos.
Well, I think everybody who has seen Matt Latos. Hello.
Hammered into left center field, and you can mark it down. 3-0 Cincinnati.
Well, Tom, you mentioned that this is the first game of this 3-game series, despite the nice weather here in Wisconsin this weekend. First time they've had the roof open and the panels open there, and the wind is blowing out. Not that this needs any help at all, because Brandon Phillips gets it right on the screws.
That is 5 RBIs in this series for Brandon Phillips in 2 games and 1 at bat. Jay Bruce now the batter. Boy, and he's created headaches for Marco Estrada. Our IGS bringing the energy. Look at these numbers. 7 hits, 4 of them for home runs, and 8 batted in.
Well, if you lay off that pitch right there, you're going to make it a very tough day for Marco Estrada, because his whole game plan is to get you to hit those pitches that are at the outside of the strike zone, just above the height in the strike zone and just below the knees.
That one ran in on Jay Bruce, and he pops it up in a shallow left center field, and Gene Segura all the way there to get it. With all the home runs that Estrada has allowed this year, and it's 22 of them now, but 20 coming into the game, he had only allowed 3 of them in the first inning of his 13 starts. And now he gives up 2 in the first inning to the Reds today, Hamilton and Phillips.
Well, there have been some pretty good pitchers throughout the years that have been good at giving up home runs. Robin Roberts, a Hall of Famer, had for a long time given up more home runs than anybody in the history of baseball. And by far the home runs that Estrada has given up this year have been like Billy Hamilton, the solo variety. In fact, 14 of 22 home runs have been solo shots, including Hamilton's today. But it's those that you give up with a couple of runners on base or a runner on that they really hurt you bad. And boy, nothing like getting the little magic of a getaway mojo right out of the jar with that 2-run bomb that Brandon Phillips hit.
Is all of that hyphenated like it's one word? Because I like that, but I'm just kind of curious if I ever want to use that and write it in something, down the road. That ball is laced into left center field, and that one will be cut off by Davis. Here comes Ludwig. He'll easily get into second. One thing Davis cannot do, he does a number of things well. Throwing is not one of them. Boy, and they are hitting the ball hard against Estrada, needless to say, here in the first inning.
And that is an exclamation point on that one, Tom, because you're right about that. Estrada has tried just about everything he can just to get through this first inning. The breaking ball, another one. The curveball is the one that Hamilton hit for a home run, and you leave that above the belt, and it's like having a ball coming in there beeping and blinking, saying, hit me, and the Reds have not missed it so far today.
All right, so now that Rick Kranitz is coming out to visit, I want to get back to that. Getaway day mojo, is that all, dash.
I would suggest that you put it in parentheses, put a little foot mark up there on it, and refer to me at the very bottom of the page.
No problem.
Is that okay?
No problem.
That way you won't hear from my lawyer.
Getaway day mojo. I like it. Here's Devin Mesoraco. He needs a little mojo to swing back in his direction. I mean, you couldn't get this guy out for the first month and a half when he was on the active roster. Now all of a sudden he's hit a cold spell and hoping to snap out of it right quick, going back to his home state later tonight of Pennsylvania. Started 2, laid off a bonus strike on Devin Mesoraco. 9 home runs, 27 runs batted in.
Boy, 33 pitches already now for Estrada in this inning. And the Reds still have a runner in scoring position.
And there's another example, the pitch you alluded to a moment ago, Chris, whether it's down and away or in that case down and in. If you don't chase it, you get into good hitters counts.
There are some pitchers out there that you really don't want to get down behind the count in. Guys that really super out pitches, especially hard throwers, guy with great slider, that type. But Estrada doesn't have any of that.
That ball is hammered into left field, and a diving play by Davis saves another run. Oh, but the Reds flexing their muscles on this Father's Day. Hamilton. And with a man aboard, Brandon Phillips. Reds after a half inning in front 3-0. Look at Ron Renick's starting lineup for the Brewers. Scooter Gennett at second base. Ryan Braun will be in right. Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate. Lineup brought to you by Meyer. Gomez, Ramirez, and Davis in the middle. Reynolds, Segura, Estrada, the latter third. Against Reds right-hander, having a good year. Just coming off a couple of tough starts is Mike Leake.
Yeah, the only thing that Mike Leake hasn't been able to do is to put a lot of wins on the board, mainly because the Reds have not given him a lot of run support. But that has changed already in this ball game. In fact, the 3 runs the Reds have given him average about how much that they give him for a whole game. So he's maybe not be sure how to pitch with a lead out there.
Scooter Gennett arguably had the single biggest at bat of the game yesterday. For many of you that saw the game, Matt Latos had retired 13 batters in a row. He had only allowed 1 hit, retired the first 2 batters in the 6th inning, and had a pitch count at 72. And there was very little doubt at all that Latos was going to be pitching longer than just 6 innings in that game the way he was going. Well, he got ahead of Gennett at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Threw a pitch in the dirt. Gennett had a jet swing. Latos thought he went around. Pena thought he went around. The umpire said he didn't. Good play there by Frasier to get to that ball before a second bounce and throws out Gennett. On the next pitch, Latos threw a fastball on the inside corner that he and Pena again thought was a 3rd strike. And let's go back and revisit it, Chris, before it turned into a 13-pitch at bat. That's a check swing.
Well, that was the swing that Matt Latos was certainly convinced that he went around on. He was kind of laughing at the time. It was a very patient at bat, obviously, for Scooter Gennett. But, you know, I think your analyst yesterday, C.J. Nitkowski, made a great point that may have cost the Reds because it cost Matt Latos an inning of work. So instead of pitching 1 more inning, they had to go to the bullpen an inning early, and that's when the Brewers began to do their damage.
There's a weak fly ball by Ryan Braun. Right at the center fielder Billy Hamilton. 2 away. The Reds defensively presented by your Ford dealers. Once again, Ludwig getting the nod out of left field. The regular cast of characters everywhere else. Young man from outside of Orlando, Florida, Jonathan Lucroy.
Well, he's born in Eustis, Florida, but he went to high school at Umatilla.
Yep.
In fact, when he went out of high school, I mean, to consider where he is right now, establishing himself as one of the best players in the National League. Here's a guy that was really unwanted by any Division I program except one. When he came out of high school, he ended up going to the University of Louisiana Lafayette and became one of their most successful players ever.
He loves swinging by. They have a great little joint there in Eustis, Florida, called Haystacks. Started, I think it's a breakfast and lunch place, and now some dinner. That's a big league joint if you're down that way. Go on swinging Lucroy. 21st, 22nd for only $12 when they take on the Toronto Blue Jays at Great American Ballpark. Got the fireworks, Reds baseball, giveaways, so much more. You can buy tickets today. Call 513-381-REDS or log on to reds.com/tickets. That'll be a fun series with Toronto coming in. It will be. They are the division leaders in the American League East. Going into play today, the Blue Jays, who lost yesterday, have a 3.5 game lead over both Baltimore and New York, Boston 8 back, and Tampa Bay. 13.5 games out of first place. Three 3-0 on Zach Cozart. Reds got a leadoff home run by Billy Hamilton to start the game. 3 batters later, Brandon Phillips hit a 2-run home run. They got a double by Ludwig, and it took a spectacular diving grab in left field by Chris Davis to take away a double and another Reds run on a liner by Devin Mesoraco. 3-1 to Cozart. But that wind is really swirling around. You look at the flags out there. Now, granted, they have the panels open, but they're blowing right towards left. But you can look at the players' uniforms and see the swirling winds down in this bowl. This is the biggest crowd we have had this weekend, and there have been good crowds. A little over 38,000 last night, but they're upwards of 40,000 here today. Well, you look around the ballpark, and naturally on Sundays all over Major League Baseball, we see it at Great American Ballpark on Sundays. A lot of families out together. But there's a high drive into left center field, but that's the deepest part of the yard out there. And short of the track, it'll be Gomez for the first out of the inning. But today, see a lot of dads with their kids, maybe giving mom a break today and hanging out at the yard. Happy Father's Day to all the dads today, and all the things it means to be a great dad. Breaking ball in there, strike to Mike Leake. League 4 hits in 27 at bats. He has a home run, 2 runs batted in. He also has a double. And that's a foul ball. The count remains 1-2 on Mike Leake. Leake, a very impressive opening inning, retiring Jeanette, Braun, and Lucroy without even a loud sound in that first inning from any of that trio. Gone swinging Leake. First strikeout for Estrada. 2 down in the second inning. Well, a reminder, coming up a little bit later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Hamilton homered his final at bat last night, which tied the game in the 8th inning. Chris mentioned that came as a right-handed batter against Smith. And then his very next at bat, the first one in today's game, a home run to right field to lead off the game. He has 4 of them now on the year. So Lucroy, he was doing a little umpiring of his own there. He wouldn't have stuck that mask out to catch that ball. unless he obviously believed that was a foul ball.
Well, it could be just reaction time. You know, you're getting back there and you're trying to, with Billy Hamilton up, in case it is a fair ball, you're trying to make, you grab it as soon as you can. There is an area there right around home plate in the batter's box that is not shown as either fair or foul with a foul line. It's the only part of on the baseball field that does not have a foul line going through it. And it's right there at the top of each batter's box. So that's the area where you see a bunt or a check swing or a swinging bunt. Right in here. Both of those lines extend either down the first base line or third base line, right from the very peak of home plate, the very base.
Pulled a string on him and got him swinging in a 1-2-3 second inning. Reds lead 3-0. Ohio.com, Al McCoy relives Jim Bunning's perfect game on Father's Day 50 years ago. Zach Jackson profiles Luke Kennard. He's already committed to play basketball at Duke, and he's getting ready for his senior year at Franklin High. Boy, they say he is something. One of the best players in America. That and more at FoxSportsOhio.com, brought to you by 1-800-SAFE Auto. Drive safe, spend less. Apparently, Luke Kennard, right now, one of 15 players left for the U.S. national team. They keep 12. They're down to 15. And he's a junior. You sign with Duke, you're probably pretty good. 2-1 on Carlos Gomez. Lake had a 1-2-3 opening inning. And there's strike two. Gomez, a .310 batter, having another good year. Just a really solid all-around player, at times spectacular player. An extremely aggressive player. And he is our steel power tool performer. He's reached base safely in 29 consecutive games. That's the longest active streak in the major leagues. And not just getting on, but look at those numbers. You can add another one to it. Gomez head down, and after a big turn at second base, he'll put on the brakes with a leadoff double.
Carlos Gomez really likes to get that bat hat out and pull the ball, and that breaking ball right there stayed about waist high, and it gave him a chance to get that sweet part of the bat on it. And that play happened in front of him right there, so he doesn't need the help of the third base coach. He just realizes where that ball is and picks up a leadoff double. This is not an offense that will simply go away on you. These guys like to swing the bat.
Aramis Ramirez looks at ball one, a .263 batter, 7 home runs, 28 runs batted in. Just recently activated off the disabled list is Ramirez. Well, the Brewers have come from behind. Now, granted, last night was only a 1-0 lead. But they took the lead in that 2-run seventh. Reds tied in the 8th. Brewers won in the bottom of the 8th. Sinking liner caught by Ryan Ludwig. Yeah, Ludwig has played a good left field this year. I mean, he's not going to win a Gold Glove, but he's made some nice plays out there this season.
Well, the balls that he gets to, he's going to catch. And he gets a good jump on that. Those line drives that are right at you, those are sometimes ones you hesitate on. Then by the time you react, you see that the hump and the humpback is, the ball sinks right in front of you and you don't get a chance to get to it. But he did a good job there. Guy plays hard.
That wind is blowing almost straight in right now. Well, you wonder once it's coming through the panels, Chris, and then, you know, starts swirling around in the, 4 or 5 decks of this building. You know, what kind of effect it's having at the end of the day on a traveling baseball.
Well, I really think that it knocked down that fly ball that was hit. What's that? Kozart in the second inning. I thought he hit that ball very well, and it barely even made it through the warning track. And that was just, I'm saying that only because of the reaction that Carlos Gomez had. Yep. It looks like Gomez was going to the wall, and then all of a sudden he stopped and started coming back in. He doesn't misjudge him very much. It looked like it just hit a wall of wind and was coming straight down.
A runner at second, 1 out. We're in the Milwaukee second inning, and the Reds with a 3-0 lead. Leake taking a lot of time looking into Mesoraco, and now he'll back off the rubber. 1-1 on Chris Davis. Gomez runs well, but he is not a huge stolen base guy. I mean, he's getting on base all the time this year, and he only has 13 attempts. Well, he can walk down to third now. Not sure what happened there.
That was a check swing that Davis was called on actually making an attempt to swing. I think that ball just may have, I'm not sure what happened, but it could have just shielded out the vision of Mesoraco. Looks like that bat went right at the height of his eye level. So, of course, now you're Chris Davis. The job is a lot easier getting that run in from third base with 1 out.
And now Leake will work out of his regular windup with a runner at third and 1 out in the inning. He's ahead in the count on Davis at a ball and 2 strikes.
Reds playing back. They'll give up the run on the ground ball.
And they'll take strike 3. How about that pitch from Mike Leake? That's big league pitch.
Well, it's an inside cutter. And after you see Mike Leake's fastball run into you naturally, you're thinking anything that comes in towards you right there has a chance to hit you. So you freeze on it, only to find out that it's a cutter that moves just a little bit. That's an old-fashioned cutter right there. Nowadays, a lot of pitchers have come up with a pitch they call a cutter, but it's more of a modified slider. That only moves a couple of inches, holds its line, and great location.
Now the runner at third with 2 outs, and here's Mark Reynolds. Dropped down a little bit there, did Leake. And had the look, as you pointed out a couple of starts ago, Chris, of his buddy and mentor, Bronson Arroyo. Boy, has he gotten it together after a tough start for Arizona. He has been on quite a run the last 2 months.
Well, the Brewers will leave here today. Actually, head to Phoenix. They've got Phoenix and Colorado coming up on a road trip that sees them play really these 3 games at home against the Reds in a course in which they play, I think, 18 games on the road.
They will miss Arroyo. Bronson gunning for his 7th win of the season today for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of course, Mark Reynolds, a longtime Diamondback.
Or if you're pitching and you see Mark Reynolds make a swing like that on your breaking ball, and you know his power and his propensity to swing hard and really not just take what you give him, which is a base hit to right field. This is a good opportunity right here to stay away and continue to do that. They're going to come in, maybe buy the outer part of the plate by coming in with an effect pitch first.
Carlos Gomez leads at third. The Reds lead here in the 2nd inning 3-0, and now the 2-2 leak to Reynolds. And that is strike 3 called. Another on the inside corner. Boy, that's some good work there by the Reds right-hander Mike Leake. Tell us about it, Mr. Welsh.
Brewers here on Fox Sports Ohio. Hi, everyone. I'm Jim Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there. And a little different feeling in the Reds clubhouse today because over the last year, there have been a lot of newborns as far as Reds players go. Mike Leake, Todd Frasier, Chris Heisey, Manny Parra, Brandon Phillips. So for the first time in their lives, they were getting Happy Father's Day wishes today. And you can add to it, the Cozarts are expecting, the Latoses are expecting, and Marshall, even though he's a dad already, his wife expecting. So a lot of newborns and a lot of guys not used to hearing Happy Father's Day directed at them.
They're going to love that. Love that. Now, Jim, you had a chance to catch up. I asked Chris about Matt Latos, and at the end of the day, what were his feelings about coming out of that game yesterday, Jim? I mean, we know what kind of competitor Latos is.
He was okay with it. He said the numbers of Logan Ondrusek, the guy that replaced him, were good against those batters coming up, and he did not have a problem with it. He knows that Scooter Gennett at bat was the one that did him in. And who knows, deep down maybe he has different feelings, but publicly he said he was fine with it and was very, very happy with his outing. And why not? Those numbers are great.
I mean, the two guys you can count on being dialed in with the pulse of this Reds team are Jim Day and Chris Welsh. Frasier is swinging a foul ball out of play, 2-2.
Yeah, this is the kind of a bat that we really never used to see Todd Frasier have as far as battling. It seemed like when he got down in the count, a couple of strikes on him, all the pitcher had to do was expand the zone and he would start chasing. He does there, but we haven't seen that nearly as much as we used to.
One away in the inning, going to pop up to Scooter Gennett.
I want to send out a real special Father's Day wish to Ross Kimmerly of Claremont County. Special Father's Day wish from his sons Mike and David. Now, Ross was at 89 years old. He's a retired World War II veteran.
Wow.
He was at D-Day. He was an engine man in one of the boats that transported the troops to shore. He had 4 brothers, all of whom served in World War II and all came back safe. And his brother Jim, who lives down in Adams County, never misses a Reds game on Fox Sports Ohio. So happy Father's Day, guys.
Happy Father's Day indeed, and thank you for your service for this great country of ours. It's Joey Votto, the supply of ball on the left. Happy Father's Day to you, Mr. Welsh.
Thank you.
Well, right now you can tweet your photo using hashtag #OhioFanPhoto. Maybe we'll show it during an upcoming telecast brought to you by AT&T. Happy Father's Day to my dad out there on his way where he'll rejoin the team in Pittsburgh after the weekend off. Dad, I love you. Hope you're having a great day. Sorry I won't see you today.
He's probably heading to Pittsburgh just about the same time that you'll be heading back to Cincinnati.
Probably about right. Somebody had said that he and Amanda might be riding motorcycles to Pittsburgh.
Now, your dad probably in the sidecar.
Well, natural.
Okay.
I mean, Amanda and her family, you know, they grew up riding motorcycles across the country during summer trips. And so
that'd be a beautiful trip over there to the Berg.
Sure would. You and I made that drive before.
Yes, we did. The closest we came to motorcycles, we rolled the windows down for a short period of time.
Check swing and a miss. Estrada much sharper over these last 2 innings than when they were hitting rockets in that first.
Well, for him, it's the difference in getting the breaking ball down.
You know, there are things we love about technology and things that make you crazy about technology. But, you know, that FaceTime thing. You know, this morning, you know, when we're away from our wives and kids, and I get that FaceTime call this morning, and there's Ella and Luke and Polly, and they give me my presents right there. You know, they each made me a present, which, you know, melts your heart. There's a base hit into left field by Brandon Phillips. That's a way to start your day when you're away from those you love the most. That's great stuff.
You're a lucky man.
No doubt about it. Blessed as the day is long.
How about your pops? Shoot off a FaceTime call to Marty?
No, but I've already wished him earlier today a happy Father's Day, and he did the same thing to me.
Probably dialed in watching the game right now.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. That ball hit hard by Jay Bruce, but it'll land in the glove of Ryan Braun, and the inning is over. A hit a man left. Reds in front, 3-0. Our game storyline brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio. Some news and notes around the Central Division. Adam Wainwright is going to miss the start on Monday. Elbow tendonitis. Certainly hope that he's all right. Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill, the subject of trade rumors with the Cubs. We've known for a long time that was coming in regard to Samardzija. And the Pirates are back to 500. Gregor Polanco coming up from the minor leagues and already making an impact in that Pirate lineup. We'll see him for the first time beginning Tuesday night.
He had a 5-hit game the other night, did he not? Anxious to see that young man play.
Fly ball to begin the inning off the bat of Gene Segura. That's one out. Reds have a 3-0 lead as the Brewers bat here in the last of the third. Pitcher Marco Estrada, the batter. 1 hit in 21 at bats, has a run batted in. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Reds. Got a solo home run from Billy Hamilton leading off in the first inning. And then Brandon Phillips, after a Joey Votto single, played long ball to deep left center field to make it 3-0, and that's where we stand here in the bottom of the third. Pirates are gunning for the sweep down in Miami today. The Marlins were virtually unbeatable at home. They were 22-10 before the Pirates came to town. And the Pirates out to a 2-0 lead today. They're in the third inning in St. Louis, where the Cardinals are looking for the 3-game weekend sweep. Boy, there's an at-bat that got away from Leake as he walks a pitcher Estrada, who has 1 hit all year. There are way too many good hitters in this Milwaukee lineup to be walking guys in the bottom of the order, especially the pitcher.
Especially the pitcher is right. You know, you have an at bat like that as a pitcher, and it just gets away from you mentally. And rather than what you normally do, when you go 3-1 on a hitter, a lot of times you're going to see a pitcher walk off the mound and try to cleanse himself of any negative thoughts, try to get him back on track mechanically or however. But you don't usually do that with a pitcher at the plate because you're thinking, well, this guy can't hit. All I got to do is throw it in there. And then it runs a little bit more than you thought it did. Next thing you know, he's on first base. Estrada down there at first probably never had a chance to talk to Joey Votto before.
One and two on Scooter Gennett. One ball and 2 strikes on the Milwaukee second baseman who took over last year, getting that spot you may remember from Ricky Weeks. That's 2 pitches in a row. He has fouled off his front right foot or leg, and he's trying to walk out some of that pain. Leake smartly coming right back in there again after he fouled the last one off his foot. I had a chance to visit with Ricky Weeks for a few minutes yesterday, and we talked on Friday night how in a day and age seemingly where a player, it doesn't matter what sport, you hear about it, you read about it all the time, they'll lose their job because of their poor play, And then all of a sudden they want to blame the manager or the coach, the head coach. They want to blame the general manager. And they'll be demanding a trade and screaming and yelling about, this and that. Weeks has done nothing like that. Former All-Star player, and has conducted himself with a tremendous amount of professionalism after losing his job. Votto, not sure what happened there. And Leake looking back over his shoulder. And everybody's safe.
Well, I think that's just one of those no-man's spots right there, because if Mike Leake does not get this ball himself on the way to first base, he's not going to get it. He's going to have to expect Votto to somehow throw the ball behind him and then have Leake catch it while the ball is behind him. That's almost an impossible play to make, and just a well-placed swinging bunt.
Yep. If you look at that replay with Votto's momentum, all of it coming in and towards the pitcher's mound,
he'd have a lot better chance of throwing the ball down the right field line than actually completing it to Leake.
All right, so a walk to the pitcher. An infield hit that doesn't travel 70 feet. And now there's 2 on, and the tying run of the plate is Ryan Braun. Strike 1.
Boy, Braun was pretty impressive last night with that swing that he put on a high fastball from J.J. Hoover, taking it the other way. And I mean a no-doubter that way. So you have to keep the ball down and hit your spot on Braun.
Nothing at 2 on Braun. Good movement on that 92-mile-per-hour fastball from Mike Leake. Right field, Bruce will make the catch, and tagging up is Estrada, advancing on to third. 2 out in the inning. So one more big out to get for Mike Leake.
Hitting spot's important. Let's take a look at it with our pitch by pitch brought to you by Mazda. Mike Leake against Ryan Braun. A first pitch fastball right there for a strike, and then he takes something off the next pitch. And Leake going after him really with all fastballs right here. Comes in, jams him a little bit as Braun. You get the sense he's trying to hit the ball the other way. And Leake came right in there with a nice 2-seamer and took care of him.
So now the best hitter in this Brewer lineup, Jonathan Lucroy, the batter. Leake struck him out swinging his first time up. Estrada at third base. Jeanette on at first. Straight up in the air. Mesoraco fires away the mask. Frasier will call him off, and that's it. Good work again by Leake. And to 3. Reds lead by 3.
I'd say my dad, he really helped me develop a love for baseball he put in a lot of time and a lot of effort with me working at my skills, throwing and catching a lot of ground balls growing up. He was a catcher as well, so we kind of had that connection where I grew up being a catcher, and hitting-wise, he threw as much BP as I ever wanted.
3-0 Redlegs as they come to bat on this Father's Day in the top half of the 4th inning. Ryan Ludwig, Devin Mesoraco, and Zach Cozart coming up. You know, maybe you're hoping, Chris, that a lot of Reds fans are hoping, we're hoping that last at bat was about as well struck a ball as Mesoraco has had recently during this cold stretch. So maybe he can kick it back into gear again.
Well, you know, he got off to such a tremendous start that you have a tendency just to raise the bar of expectation high, maybe beyond where it should be right now in his major league career. But, you know, most players are the same. They get hot, they get cold, and, you know, the good ones limit those number of times that they get into a slump. They get out of them a little bit quicker. One thing you know about Mesoraco, though, he will come to the ballpark ready to play and play hard every day.
It's why you really get the feeling, it's been written about and talked about for the last number of years, how some feel there's a vocal leadership void inside that Reds clubhouse. Votto and Bruce, pleasant guys, easy to like, but not the most outgoing guys in the world as far as being vocal leaders. And that perhaps for the first time we're starting to see Frasier, Mesoraco, and really a little bit of Billy Hamilton maybe starting to take on that role. Certainly Frasier with the most experience of being a productive everyday player than the other two.
You hit it right on the head there. You have to be a productive player. You can't lead, even though you may be a loud, rah-rah guy, if you're hitting 220. So once you start putting up numbers that makes you a guy on the team that they look up to because of your play on the field, they'll also look up to you and your advice in the clubhouse. But it's not just one player. It's, you know, those clubhouses that have the best chemistry and the best leadership, you know, they have about 3, 4, 5 players who all kind of govern the clubhouse, and then the coaches and managers can just stay the heck right out of there and let the players govern themselves. And that's the ideal situation. It doesn't always happen, but that's what you try to get to when you're putting a team together.
Ludwig, a fly ball into center field. And once again, you saw the example of the same thing with Cozart. Now, that one maybe not hit as well as Cozart's, but Gomez went back and then came in. All right, today's your last chance to win your way to NASCAR's Quaker State 400 in the Kentucky Speedway Getaway Sweepstakes on board the Fan Express. The keyword today, drivers. Go to the entry page at foxsportsohio.com. Last day to get registered. 0-1 on Mesoraco. Into left center field. That'll fall in a base hit for Devin. So perhaps everything evens out. He hit one right on the screws. It took a diving play going towards the left field line to take away extra bases on a play made by Davis. And now he breaks his bat, flares one in for a hit.
And he gets it on the end of the bat right there, but still gets a pretty good piece of that baseball. And is able to line it in there. He had a lot of line drives in batting practice. I'm never really convinced that what you do in BP you carry over in the game, except that it does give you a little bit more confidence that you're seeing the ball well.
Breaking ball away from Cozart, who flied out to deep center field his first time up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Chase that high fastball, and you're not going to get it. Even though there's not a lot of hair on it from Estrada.
Well, velocity-wise, it's only 88 miles an hour, but because your eyes are so close to it, you see it so well, you want to chase it, you want to hit it. And living up in the zone is one reason why Marco Estrada is a prolific fly ball pitcher. And another reason why he gives up a lot of home runs, because he is a fly ball pitcher. In fact, you got a matchup today of Mike Leake, who's one of the top-rated sinker ball pitchers out there as far as number of ground outs per against flyouts, and then Estrada exactly the opposite. He is number one as far as the most fly balls by outs.
It's interesting to know that you look at Mike Leake so far today, and through the front 3 innings, he only has 1 ground ball out, and that was the first batter of the game.
A funny game.
Cozart had an excellent first game of this series. He had 2 hits and 3 at bats, scored a couple of runs, also drew a walk. Of course, his base hit started that game-winning rally. He scored the game-winning run in the 9th. That one hit down the right field line towards the corner and out of play. But then Cozart, in one of the biggest, I would argue, the biggest out or the biggest batter of the game for Milwaukee starter Giovanni Gallardo. The Reds had scored in the first inning. And when they came to the plate in the second inning, Ryan Ludwig and Brian Pena started that inning with back-to-back singles. So Gallardo had already given up 4 hits through the first 7 batters of the game. But he got Cozart, the very next batter, to bounce into a double play, and he never looked back. Popped up to the third baseman Ramirez, 2 away in the inning. This being Father's Day, we are participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every home run hit in this game raises $15,000 for prostate cancer research. And if you're able to make a pledge, go online to homerunchallenge.org. So far this week, 118 home runs. And Major League Baseball has raised $1.8 million for prostate cancer research. First pitch swinging is Leake. Foul territory for Reynolds. And the Reds are through in the 4th inning. Cincinnati 3, Milwaukee 0. know, every Sunday home game, take advantage of the great Reach Magazine family deal. When one member of the family buys a full price ticket, they'll then get the option to buy 3 additional tickets at only half price. Plus, every Sunday home game, we feature kids giveaways. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com/family. Brewers coming to bat against Mike Leake here in the last of the 4th inning. No runs, 2 hits for Milwaukee. Leake has struck out 3. He's walked 1. The Reds have 3 runs and 6 hits. Reds got home runs in the 1st inning of the leadoff variety by Billy Hamilton and a 2-run home run by Brandon Phillips. The only scoring in this game so far. Gomez doubled down the left field line his first time up and wound up at 3rd with only 1 out. As this one is in the air, will fall in a base hit. That's when Leake came back to strike out both Davis and Reynolds, stranding Gomez at 3rd.
What a long way Carlos Gomez has come to consider where he was essentially given away by the Milwaukee or by the Minnesota Twins to be batting 4th in this lineup. And this is a pretty good offensive lineup. I mean, adding protection to Ryan Braun and Jonathan Lucroy.
Gomez 11 out of 13 in stolen base attempts. And here's Aramis Ramirez. He lined out on a diving catch made by Ryan Ludwig his first time up. That one low. Doug Eddings calls the balls and strikes. Corey Blazer at first. Marvin Hudson, the umpire, at second, and Brian O'Nora at 3rd.
Well, Ramirez is a guy that has really struggled in all the appearances that he has had against Mike Leake. Came into this ball game hitting .111 in 27 appearances. But he's been hot lately in this series.
A ball driven hard into right center field. And Bruce with an over-the-shoulder grab and a chance to double up Gomez all the way to first. Get it done, Jay Bruce! That is a big league play right there. That ball blistered by Ramirez. It looked surely bound for the gap. What a play by Bruce.
I think the wind may have even picked that ball up and made it more difficult for Bruce. As it turns out, he throws the ball on a hop or two right at the first base bag, and he gets Gomez, who was really over by the shortstop position by the time Bruce fielded this ball. Right on the money on 2 hops. Scoop by Votto. Double play.
Well, that's as good as it gets right there. You won't find 3-4 right fielders in either league make that play.
If you're Mike Leake, that's a steak dinner ode.
One 1-0 on Davis. And it's off the inside corner. 2-0. Wow. What a play. And then flat-footed. A pirouette. Really a half 180. And from the warning track right on the bag with the throw. Hard hit liner skips underneath Cozart into left field.
Well, how big is that catch now?
We brought up yesterday that as you look at this one getting by Cozart, Gerardo Parra has more outfield assists over the last 3 years than any other National League outfielder. Jay Bruce just moved into sole possession of second place. He was tied with Carlos Gomez. And Carlos Gonzalez of Colorado. Out of play, strike one to Mark Reynolds. Sails away from Reynolds, who struck out looking with a runner at third to end the second inning. That ball clobbered down the left field line. Gomez can run. He's on his way to third. And they're going to hold him there. Or Davis there, I beg your pardon. So, boy, to repeat your line, how big is that catch now by Jay Bruce?
Well, you're not kidding about that because they've hit the ball hard in this inning. In fact, everybody that has come up to the plate, 4 of them have hit the ball hard. 3 of them have come in as hits, but there are 2 outs due to that great play by Bruce. Boy, Ludwig does a nice job getting this ball in, because if he took an extra step out there, they probably, with 2 outs, would have tried to go ahead and score Chris Davis. But now, if you're Mike Leake, you're thinking, all right, this isn't as bad as it appears. I've got the number 8 hitter coming up. I've got a base open at first in case I want to intentionally walk him or simply pitch around him if I get behind him. And then I've got the pitcher coming up. Now, all of a sudden, they're scrambling around and getting some action in the Milwaukee Brewer bullpen. So it's no given that Marco Estrada would bat here with the bases loaded, if you did decide to walk Gene Segura.
I think that's eyewash out there in the bullpen. I don't think there's any way in the world they're going to take their pitcher out of this game in the 4th inning.
Well, we're about to find out, because here's an intentional walk.
Yep. That guy's not even throwing to get there. He hadn't even stepped up on the top yet. In fact, now he's taking a seat. I mean, this Milwaukee team has shown all year long the ability to come from behind. Now, you're not going to bank on being able to do that every night, obviously. Well, we've seen it in the first 2 games of this series, both times in the 7th inning.
Now, the other thing that Ron Ranick is thinking is that, you know, besides that first inning, Marco Estrada's been pretty good.
Sure.
He's had 1, 2, 3 innings, given up a hit in each of the last 2, but he's been right on the button for the most part. So why would you go to the bullpen now, except to bring in somebody who could possibly get a hit and get you on the board?
So they are loaded. Brewers today 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Leake, you may remember, walked Estrada with 1 out in the 3rd inning. Nowhere to put him here with Davis, Reynolds, and Segura Boyd, 2 outs. Wow. 3-1 game. Gallo has 1 hit all year long, just got a 2nd hit.
Well, he's been on base twice. He was a guy that Mike Leake walked his first time up, and he just goes out there to get that little curveball, just trying to put the bat on the ball. And he goes right back over the pitching rubber for a base hit in the shallow center field.
So a little buzz in Miller Park for the first time today. Their Brewers a chance to get even as Jeanette bats with the bases loaded, and there is ball one. The inability to retire the pitcher. He delivers Milwaukee's first run of the game, a 2-out single here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Reds with a 3-1 lead. Jeanette 1 of 2 had an infield hit his last time up. The Brewers have taken the lead on a double by Scooter Jeanette. And man, oh man, has it fallen apart in a hurry again for Mike Leake. This has been a pattern over his last 2 starts and now a 3rd one.
Really good bit of hitting right there, though, by the leadoff hitter, Jeanette. I mean, it's almost like he had a plan to think that after coming inside on the first pitch, Leake's going to go outside on the next one, and I'm going to hit it where it's pitched.
And now it's a Reds bullpen that's getting busy.
That guy is a pesky little out. For someone who many said he was too small to play Major League Baseball, he's been right in the middle of a whole lot of stuff in this series and so far against the Reds.
Five hits in this inning for the Brewers. And here's Ryan Braun in a 3-3 game, and he looks at ball one.
This would have been a 5-run inning had it not been for that play by Bruce. I hate to keep going back to it, though, but that's when it began to come apart for Leake with the way they've been hitting the ball. Just about everybody in this lineup. Good pitch there.
Sure was. Initiated in the inning. Closart out to get him, but the Brewers come up with 3 on 5 hits to tie the game at 3.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service celebrating 12 years. Watch every out-of-market game live in True HD on over 400 devices. Visit Reds.com for details. I'm Jim Day, and Steve Smith, I told him that I would send out a happy Father's Day to his dad, Francis, who takes in about every Reds game in California. So happy Father's Day, Francis. And by the way, they had a little competition, I guess, amongst coaches in the clubhouse today, where they're going around the room and trying to figure out who's the best dad on Dad's Day and who had done what for their father, etc. And they got to Steve Smith, and his daughter's the one that talked him into getting in the Amazing Race, the TV show. And he said, my daughter took me around the world. And basically they all shut up and said, Steve Smith, you win Dad of the Day today. Now, speaking of traveling, you mentioned it earlier, boys. On the way to Pittsburgh would be Marty Brennaman And, of course, wife Amanda. And you mentioned perhaps on a Harley and a sidecar. And this is breaking news right here. We've got cameras everywhere. They are indeed on their way.
I kind of like Marty's carry-on luggage right here. I wonder if he's got Toto in that.
Well, that is a big league picture. Right
It sure is.
That's as good as it gets. They're on their way.
Yeah. Well, when you're on your way to Cincinnati and they're on their way to Pittsburgh, you just make sure you reach out the window and wave hey.
Of course, this is the home of Harley Davidson.
It is indeed.
So they'll be on a hog on their way to Pittsburgh, if not already. Billy Hamilton will lead things off. That picture courtesy, we thank Jamie Ramsey of the Reds for taking that picture. A photo taken earlier in the year, but probably a pretty good time to go ahead and just put it up now. All of a sudden we have a ball game, as these Brewers have done it yet again. They've done it 3 times now in this series. Come from behind to tie or take the lead. Reds had 3 runs on 4 hits in the first inning, including home runs by Hamilton and Phillips. They only have 1 2-hit since. And this sinking liner will fall in front of Ryan Braun, so Billy Hamilton is aboard to begin the Reds' 5th inning. Boy, what a series Hamilton is having. Game-winning hit Friday night. 2 hits, scored twice, knocked in a run, was on base 3 times last night. A homer and a single in 3 at-bats today.
You know, it just seems to me he's hanging around a little bit longer in each at-bat.
Well, another thing he's not doing, Chris, recently. Now, when he struck out in the 2nd inning today, that was the first time in 33 plate appearances that Hamilton has struck out. Did a lot of that early in the year. Of course, they were facing some pretty doggone pitching, too.
Well, he had been susceptible early on, chasing breaking balls down the dirt when he got behind the count, but he seems to be laying off those a little bit, making pitchers throw balls closer to the zone. Kind of got to make you nervous out there if you're Estrada now. Estrada, not a great move. I mean, this year, kind of typical of what he does as far as holding runners. Giving up 9 stolen bases. They've thrown out 4.
Straight up in the air, behind the plate, and out of play. Skies for the first time this entire weekend. Starting to darken. That ball in the gap to left center field. And Frasier with a missile that sails over that left center field wall. That ball was hammered. And the Reds right back on top 5-3. That is one hard hit ball. That's the deepest part of this ballpark out there by the Brewer bullpen.
I'm still not sure how that ball didn't sink. It seemed like it stayed about 9 feet high the entire time he hit it. I mean, just a rocket shot right there. Got 1 extra life, and that foul ball went into the stands behind home plate and made the most of it.
Meanwhile, Votto with a pop-up in his shallow center field. That'll be the first out of the inning. And Frasier leading in so many categories offensively among National League third basemen. Look at this thing. Right now that got out of here. Wow. Third home run today for the Redlegs. Hamilton a solo shot. Phillips and Frasier with 2-run blasts. And now Brandon Phillips, who hit a 2-run home run in the first, singled his last time up. Takes ball 1. Well, they talked about a threat of rain coming into Milwaukee in the afternoon hours, and it's certainly smelling like that and looking like that. But the great thing about Miller Park is they can close that roof up at a moment's notice. A lot of Reds fans have made the trip up here this weekend. We bumped into a number of folks in and around the hotel and around downtown as Phillips hits one at Jeanette. You know, it's a nice town to come to. Beautiful along the lakefront here. And the weather has just been unbelievable this weekend. Now, it doesn't feel like summer. It feels more like fall.
Well, it's their version of summer. I mean, they get really hot only about a week or two a year at the most. But I think one of the locals told me today you can count the number of days over 90 on both hands together.
Of course, a lot of people like to make the trip to Lake Geneva, which is not far from here, in between here and Chicago. Well, it took you about, what, an hour down there?
About an hour drive. Very beautiful part of the country.
But all over this state of Wisconsin, and it's really an easy drive from Cincinnati. I mean, you just cut right through Indianapolis, come up 65 to 94 out of Chicago, and you're right up in Milwaukee. And then you have a choice of so many areas to go that really are quite inexpensive. You have Door County, Green Lake, Wisconsin. Beautiful, beautiful place. Two and two on Jay Bruce.
Well, the locals here figure that they are deserving of a nice summer, given the fact that their winter, as much as people in Cincinnati were complaining about the winter you had there, it was about twice as bad up here.
Yep. Strike 3 called to Bruce. Hitless day for Jay Bruce. But Todd Frasier breaks a 3-3 tie. Home run number 15. The Toronto Blue Jays at Great American Ballpark this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, the big fireworks show presented by the Jeff Weiler Automotive family. 381-REDS or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Well, after the Brewers had come up with 3 runs off Mike Leake in the bottom of the 4th inning to tie the game, Todd Frasier a 2-run home run in the top of this 5th. And the Reds back on top. This is a big game today for the Reds. They are 3 up and 2 down since Votto was activated off the disabled list. And really to complete the circle with all of the Reds' injuries, and they have just been astounding. Matt Latos coming back last night, if you will, made them whole again. And so, well, being a starting pitcher, you had to wait on him, and he's going to go once every 5 days. But it will be interesting to see what the numbers look like with Votto and Bruce and Mesoraco, Schumacher to a much lesser extent, but nonetheless, a guy who's getting playing time. What the numbers look like with everybody back. And so far, they lost the first game against the Dodgers, then won 3 in a row before losing here yesterday.
Well, the bottom line here in Milwaukee, though, is they come in 8 back. You split the first 2, so now you're still 8 back. So if you lose this ball game, you drop the 9 games back behind the Brewers. That doesn't sound like much of a swing, but if you can leave here 7, at least you etched away a little bit of a lead.
High fly ball in the deep center field. Hamilton at the wall. Goodbye.
Surprised if this does not get the Reds bullpen up and going a little bit. The last inning and the runs that they scored, 3 of them. And this home run by Jonathan Lucroy. The Brewers through this order have really hit the ball hard off Mike Leake. That is only the 9th home run he's given up on the year. But they are whacking it now.
And Hamilton will run down the line drive at the warning track off the bat of Gomez. You know, the one guy you wonder if maybe we see in this game for the first time all year long out of the bullpen, Chris, is Tony Cingrani.
I see him down there stretching. I mean, not just Cingrani, but a lot of the pitchers. You know, this is a time of the game when, you know, you kind of anticipate that phone ringing if the Brewers continue to make good contact. It looks like they're getting J.J. Hoover up.
And there's a base hit by Ramirez. That is 9 hits for the Brewers. And 7 of them have come in the last inning and a third. Chris Davis has struck out, singled, and scored in a 3-run 4th. Back to the mound. Lake knocks it down. They'll get the lead running, and that's all. 2 out.
Or Leake's thinking about a double play ball if he's able to glove that cleanly. As it is, he stays with it and gets that lead runner. So good play overall.
That'll bring Mark Reynolds to the plate in a 1-run ball game. 5 runs, 8 hits for the Reds, 4 runs, and 9 hits for the Brewers. We're only in the bottom of the 5th inning. Strike 1. Well, they're starting to close up that roof. Doesn't take very long. Runner takes off, and no chance for Mesoraco. That base clearly stolen on Mike Leake, and for Davis, only his second in 2 attempts all year.
Well, those are the guys that can get good jumps because they're pretty certain that the pitcher's not going to throw over. He had a very modest lead. He just went on first move and definitely stole it on Leake.
It is fascinating to watch this roof close. When you think of the people and the brain power and the brawn, the muscle of the architecture, designing, and then the execution of the engineering involved to make this happen, it is just amazing to watch. You don't hear a sound,
which is different than what it used to be. They used to not want to close it while people were in the stadium because for some reason or another it made a lot of noise and it scared people. But it is a fabulous structure. Really a great place to watch a ball game.
Man, it's amazing. 3-1 now on Reynolds. And a full count. Now there's some guys standing all the way up in the middle where these two parts are about to come together. Walking around on a catwalk up there. I don't know what in the world he's doing.
I think he's got the remote control that opens and closes this thing. He's got the little, you know, like the garage door
clicker.
Opener. Yeah, the clicker. Somebody's got to have it.
You're right.
They wouldn't trust us with it.
No. Not a chance.
Although it would be kind of fun.
3-2 pitch. And it's pulled foul. Well, Hoover is ready in the bullpen. League spot is due up 4th when the Reds bat in the 6th inning. But all of that in the back seat. Front and center right now is trying to retire Reynolds and strand the tying run out at second base, which League can't do.
Now, Reynolds hit that double against him last time. It just seemed like Mike was very tentative in throwing him a pitch that he could get to. So he'll face the number 8 hitter, Segura, who they intentionally walked last time in the last inning of the 4th in order to get to the pitcher Estrada.
There's that guy we were talking about. I mean, where he's standing is about where each side is going to meet, closing up this roof momentarily. 1-0 pitch. Ground ball down to third. Frasier the short way. Leake goes off the hook. 7 stranded in the last 4 innings by the Brewers. They get a home from Lucroy, and we're playing indoor baseball the rest of the way. Ohio, brought to you by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together by Toyota. For over 30 Toyota offers, visit buyatoyota.com. And kick off your afternoon at V-Dubs with the best seats outside of Brazil this summer. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. One-run ball game as the Brewers are going to their bullpen. And they're going to bring on the left-hander, just activated off the disabled list, Tom Gorzelani.
Gorzelani, a left-hander that we've seen for a long, long time. He began the year on the DL. He has shoulder surgery in the offseason. The Brewers, little by little, getting healthy like the Reds are. They bring this veteran back. This time they've got him in the bullpen. And that means after Estrada has gone out and given the Brewers 5 innings of five-run baseball right now on the losing side of the scoreboard. And something going on. As one of the umpires is over there on the headset, evidently talking to either back to New York or at least to the public address announcer here at the ballpark. That's Brian O'Nora, the crew chief. And I'm wondering if it was a question about them closing the roof in the middle of the inning like that.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Chris, because, you know, obviously all the years I was out in Arizona, and one of the ground rules, it never rained in Arizona, but one of the ground rules had to do with you basically had to complete an inning where both teams had it open and or closed before you would close it and or open.
Now I'm looking out through the panels. The panels appear to be still open. It doesn't look like it is even a threat of rain, although we can't see the direction from which the weather may be coming.
Well, in the ground rules, it clearly states here in Milwaukee that if the game begins with a roof open, which it did today, it shall be closed only in the event of impending rain or adverse weather conditions. The decision to close the roof shall be made by the home club after talking with the umpire crew chief. The crew chief will notify the visiting club, which may challenge the closing of the roof if it feels that a competitive imbalance will arise. And if there is such an event, the crew chief has the final say based on the merits of that challenge. All right, well, whatever it was, maybe we'll find out about it later on. And that one is shot into right center field by Ryan Ludwig. Over to cut it off is Gomez. Here comes the throw. And unable to handle the one-hop throw is Jeanette. If he catches it, Ludwig is out. Instead, it's a double. Second double of the game by Ryan Ludwig.
You got to love that aggressive style by Ludwig, though. I mean, he's going to make the Brewers make a play, and Gomez is normally up to it. But he just gets that low pitch and takes it the other way off the left-hander. Gomez with a cut out there, just a little bit offline, and Jeanette not able to handle it. But when you've got a lead, that's the way you take it right to the other team.
Now Mesoraco, who lined out a diving catch made by Davis in the first inning. He had a single into left center his last time up, and there's strike one. Oh, and 1 to Devin Mesoraco. Up and away to even the count. Reds trying to add on. Brewers have come back from down 3-0. They've trimmed a 5-3 lead to 5-4. And Mesoraco is out, and unproductive out by the Reds catcher, failing to advance a runner to third base. One out in the inning. We'll get ready for the start of every Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio. 30 minutes before the first pitch. It's Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Of course, that'll be the whole cast of characters here on Fox Sports Ohio. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, Ryan Giesenslaw, Chris Welsh.
And Tom Brenneman, boy, we love to have you when you join us on our pregame show. Of course, you're always there in the postgame. I understand you're going to be more of a prominent person in our pregame as we go forward. Looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. Now Cozart. Chris Heisey is standing in the on-deck circle, and it appears as though now Tony Cingrani is getting loose out in the Reds bullpen. Hoover is warmed up and ready to go, or at least he was a few minutes ago. Two outs in the inning. Boy, and this is what we have seen for a team that has challenged scoring runs so frequently. How many times already have we seen the Reds get a leadoff double and the inning comes to an end and the runner is still standing at second base?
If you're going to dissect the inning, you've got to go back to the at-bat with Devin Mesoraco grounding out to the shortstop. I mean, he's got to figure out a way to get the ball to the right side of the infield, even if he lays a bunt down. It's a one-run ball game. Now, what?
Chris, I beg your pardon. Now that I'm looking at bullpen, I thought it was Cingrani. But I'm being told, and we're a long ways away from there, that is Manny Parra.
Oh, it is Manny Parra.
So I beg your pardon. So Heisey batting for the pitcher Lee, who gives up 4 runs in 5 innings today, 9 hits. Leak walked 3, 1 intentionally. Struck out 4 batters. 3 batters, I beg your pardon. And all 3 came in the first 2 innings. 1-1 pitch. Sails away, 2-1. And this should end the inning on a fly ball into right field. So a leadoff double by Ludwig. And he's left on at second base. Reds lead by a run. Fan Express to Reds Country are filling up quickly. If you'd like to get your group on board, the Fan Express, call Reds Group Sales at 513-765-7600. Rubber game of this 3-game weekend series from Miller Park in Milwaukee. Reds jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Brewers tied it with 3 in the 4th. Todd Frasier a 2-run home run in the 5th. Lucroy a solo shot in the bottom of the inning. So here we go in the bottom of the 6th inning. And taking over for Mike Leake, longtime Brewer, Manny Parra.
Yeah, not much of a record as far as batters against Manny Parra because of that exact fact that he spent most of his major league career right here in Milwaukee before coming over and becoming a part of the Reds. Parra over the last, several times out, he's been used really as more of a left-handed specialist where he's come in and pitched only a third of an inning like he did yesterday, gave up a hit in a third of an inning. But when he starts the inning off clean here in the bottom of the 6th, you probably expect him to go at least one, if not more.
Elian Herrera just brought up from the minor leagues. He's been up and down 3 times this year with the big league club. Brought back up yesterday when they sent Logan Schaefer out. Shows bunt. He is batting 4 for Zolani, who allowed a hit and no runs in his only inning. Marlins have come back to tie the Pirates. They're now in extra innings. There's a pop up to the second baseman, Brandon Phillips, and that's the way we start things here in the Milwaukee 6th. Let's take a look at our fan photo of the game, brought to you by AT&T. Looks like out there in the moon deck at Great American Ballpark. Honeybee 4214. Melissa, thank you. Left-handed batting Scooter Gennett bounced out to third in the 1st inning. Had that little roller that was an infield hit up the first base line in the 3rd, and then tied the game with a bases loaded 2-run double. Tied the game then in the 4th inning at 3. And that didn't take very long to take care of him.
Boy, good looking slider today for Parra. And with Sam LeCure throwing down the Reds bullpen, it looks like it'll only be a 2-batter appearance as Brian Price has made his way out there to see him, and that's a disappearing slider that he dropped on Gennett.
So 2 retired by Manny, and LeCure will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. He'll come on to face Ryan Braun.
This is Billy Hamilton, and I just wanted to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day.
This is Ryan Ludwig wishing all the fathers a happy Father's Day.
Hey, this is Sam LeCure, and I just wanted to wish all the dads out there a very happy Father's Day. I'll see you soon, Pop.
If I'm not mistaken, Sam LeCure is the last of, 9 or 10 children in his family. So I think his dad busy for a long, long time.
Well, he's awfully proud of Sam LeCure, that's for certain. 26 games now for Sam, and he is the go-to guy, especially in this situation when you're facing the most formidable of all the Brewer hitters in Brian Braun. Lifetime, he has simply owned Braun. 1 for 12.
LeCure fanned Braun here 2 nights ago, as we brought up the other day. Struck him out in that 7th inning when LeCure came on from the Reds bullpen to replace Homer Bailey. A ball and a strike in a 1-run game here in the 6th. Excuse me, swing there. 2-2 on Braun.
What a great purpose pitch. If you're a pitcher out there and you're just trying to buy a little bit of that outside corner, you're not going to intimidate a big league hitter like Ryan Braun. But if you can just get him to pull off just a half inch, could be the difference between a fly ball to center field and a ball that leaves the yard.
Ground ball sharply hit, but Phillips to his right. And LeCure, a nice job along with Manny Parra. They retire the side in order. We're off to the 7th, and the Reds maintain a 5-4 lead. Nissan drives of the game, and what a weekend it's been for Billy Hamilton. Friday night, 9th inning. Go-ahead run at second base. Bangs one into right field. Proved to be the game-winning hit. Reds down a run in the 8th inning last night. Billy Hamilton, bang, placed long ball into left field against Smith. And then his first time up today, leading off the game. Home run off Marco Estrada. What a weekend it's been for Billy Hamilton. So the Reds have a 5-4 lead. They come to bat here in the 7th inning, and we'll get a look at the third Milwaukee Brewers pitcher of the game. as they bring in right-hander Brandon Kinsler. We were talking to Ron Renicky about Kinsler yesterday. So this guy was money in the bank a year ago, induced a lot of ground balls, a lot of double plays. Said he'd been good this year, but not the same guy so far that we saw last year.
Well, last year was his first year as a major leaguer. He was in 71 ball games and his earned run average right around 2.6. So he was one of the elite middle relievers in the league. This year, still the earned run average is pretty good, but he's given up 3 home runs in 23 innings. Walked 8. So he has shown a couple of weak spots.
You know, another number, Chris, and I know you look at it frequently. You know, Kinsler's the kind of guy, because he's a ground ball pitcher, that they would bring him in situations with maybe a runner at first or runners at first and second, nobody out, one out in an inning. So you look at inherited runners and then the number of inherited runners that score. And so far for Kinsler, 7 on base, 3 have scored.
Yeah, I guess when you look at that particular stat over the course of an entire year, it maybe says something about it, but a short period of time, you don't know whether he inherited those runners with 3 guys on and nobody out, or a guy on first base with 2 out.
Well, he has just struck out Billy Hamilton looking.
And he came after him with a lot of strikes. Billy may have thought that pitch was going to be low and it stayed right there at the hollow of the knees.
Well, the man who gave the Reds the lead, breaking a 3-3 tie with a home run to left center, is Todd Frasier. And he'll bat with 1 out and nobody on in the 7th. A ball and a strike on Frasier. Skies have really brightened since they started to grow dark a short while ago. And if you're wondering, they are allowed to open the roof open again. As long as the roof started open, they can close it and reopen it if they so choose.
Now, do they have to wait to the end of an inning to open it?
There is nothing that has any mention about that in the ground rules here at Miller Park. But I know those were part of the ground rules in Arizona, and I'm pretty sure they were part of the ground rules in Houston. Now, Arizona's took a little bit longer because rather than having 2 pieces traveling half the distance, meeting as one in straightaway center field the way they have it here in Milwaukee. It's not the way it works in either Houston or Arizona. Two and two to count on Frasier. Struck him out, 2 away.
Boy, a pretty good location there of both his strikeout pitches. The one to Billy Hamilton right on the corner on the knees. And he does the same thing going away right here to Todd Frasier.
Now Joey Votto, the batter, 1 of 3 in the game. Singled and scored on the Phillips home run in the 1st inning. Votto 3 of 12 so far in this series, and all 3 of his hits have been singles. He's knocked in 1 run. More than a single right here. This one will find the gap, and Votto will come into second base with a 2-out double.
Now, the one thing that separates Votto from a lot of other hitters is that he can take a pitcher's pitch like that. I mean, that ball really even down below the knees, away from him, and rope it one hop off the left field, center field wall.
Well, now a run scoring opportunity for the Reds and for Brandon Phillips. Phillips has knocked in 5 runs in this series, including a 2-run home run in the first inning today. You see Phillips, the longest stretch in Major League Baseball right now, having not struck out in his last now 38 plate appearances. One and one to Brandon Phillips. Phillips trying to plate Votto and give the Reds a 2-run lead here in the top of the 7th inning. There are 2 outs in the inning. And a check swing foul ball to go to 1-2. Reds will be off tomorrow. And then they'll take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3 straight games from PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Be a night game Tuesday night. Johnny Cueto on the mound in that one. Alfredo Simon comes back for a Wednesday night game, and Homer Bailey wraps up the series. A 12:35 start on Thursday. You know, by this stretch in this series, the Reds are only going to have 3 home games out of a 19-game run. They have 3 on this series, 3 in Pittsburgh. They come home for 3 against Toronto and then leave on a 10-game road trip. Chicago, San Francisco, and San Diego. Bouncing ball to Aramis Ramirez. And his throwing time will end the inning. The double by Votto is stranded at 7. They stand and stretch. Reds lead by a run. Then Phillips. Right. Down 3-0 on home runs by Hamilton and Phillips. The Brewers scored 3 times in the 4th inning. Game tying 2-run double by Jeanette. But then Frasier in the 5th broke the tie with a 2-run home run, giving the Reds a 5-3 lead. Jonathan Lucroy added a home run for Milwaukee in the bottom of the 5th. And it's a 1-run game as the Brewers come to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. Our game summary presented by Honda. And Sam LeCure, who got the final out of the 6th inning, will face a heart of the Milwaukee batting order, and they have hit the ball very hard today. Exclusively off Mike Lee. Lucroy homered in the 5th, and you have Gomez, who had a double, a single, and a line out. And then you have Ramirez, who lined to left, lined to right on the great catch by Jay Bruce. It turned into a double play, and he singled into left field in the 5th. All right, here we go. Reds are hoping LeCure can get him to Broxton. And there's a base hit by Lucroy to open the 7th inning. This has been the inning of problems for the Reds. The first 2 games of this series, and LeCure was right in the middle of all that, you may remember, on Friday night. Brewers scored 4 runs to erase a 5-1 deficit. LeCure gave up 3 hits. Charged with 1 run in the 3rd of an inning. And then it was Logan Ondrusek with a 1-0 lead in the 7th inning yesterday. He walked Lucroy on 4 pitches to start the inning, allowed a hit. And before you knew it, the Brewers had scored twice. So they've scored 6 runs in this series in the 7th inning. You know, you wonder, Chris, is this one of those games? Broxton and Chapman got probably much needed days off yesterday. But we saw in that Dodgers series, Brian Price go to Jonathan Broxton in the 7th inning. And then work through the 8th. Is this one of those days where we're going to see maybe Broxton and Chapman for a little longer than just one? Of course, this could be 2. And it is. So LeCure gets a double play ball by Gomez. 2 outs.
Brian Price talking before the ball game today about trying to find some relievers down there in the bullpen other than Sam LeCure, Broxton, and Chapman that they could go to on a consistent basis when the team is either tied or ahead. And for the most part, this threesome, except for the last couple of times out for LeCure, have been pretty watertight, especially Broxton and Chapman. And that's a nice, easy inning for Sam right here.
Real nice inning by Sam LeCure. He's pumped up. We're going to the 8th. Reds in front by a run. This weekend, you can do so for $12. Friday, June the 20th, Saturday the 21st, Sunday the 22nd, 1 week from today. We have the fireworks show on Friday night, giveaways during the whole weekend. So give us a call at 513-381-REDS. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hope you're having a great, great day. Well, Sam LeCure, excited.
Yeah, coming off the mound, he's talking to everybody, including his own arm, saying, not a way to get it done. Well, you know, it stands to reason that he would talk to his arm like that. After all, it was his mustache,
yes,
named Cornelius just a couple of years ago, that had its own, what, Facebook page or something like that?
That's right, and he, you know, he it's so fun to talk to him about it.
And maybe he's got another one for his arm.
You know what? Well, we may have to ask him that. Because that'd be right up Sam LeCure's alley. He's one of our favorites. All right, the Brewers going back to their bullpen. They bring on the right-hander Rob Wooten. He follows Kinsler, who gave him a scoreless inning, allowing a hit and getting a pair of strikeouts. LeCure only threw 4 pitches in that inning. They got big Jonathan Broxton getting loose in the Reds bullpen as Bruce drops one into center field. His first hit in 4 at-bats today.
Jonathan Broxton getting ready for the 8th.
Ryan Ludwig's had a good day. 2 hits and 3 at-bats, and both of his hits doubles. One into left center, the other into right center field. Called strike, 1-1. We talked about this before, Chris. It seems like for whatever reason, as the game moves on, that's been prime time for Ryan Ludwig.
Well, it's nice to know that he's at his best when it's late in the game. A lot of times it's an interesting number because a lot of times by the time you bat late in the game, you're facing a reliever who's brought in specifically to get you out.
Three and one on Ludwig.
Well, Wooten is not overpowering, but what he does do is throw a lot of sliders. And with that sliders, he gets a lot of ground balls.
Well, that's really the one thing without their closer from a year ago. He's been a setup man this year, although he's been out for quite some time and will be out for an even longer period of time. And Jim Henderson. Ron Renicky talking yesterday that that's one thing that's lacking in this Milwaukee bullpen is power stuff coming out of the bullpen. And that might be an area of need and one they may address if they stay in this race, and it's hard to imagine they won't.
Think Bruce will be running here, 3-2, nobody out.
He was not. And Brewers ownership has already let it be known that, you know, if they're in this thing, they're going to try and go get it. If there are pieces they feel like they need at the trade deadline this year. 3-2 to count. Broken bat, base hit by Ludwig. 3-hit day for him. So 2 on and nobody out. Reds with a 1-run lead here in the 8th inning.
Lee gets a pass ball up and gets right in on the thumbs, but he's able to muscle it into left field. Well, what a great opportunity here for the Reds to add on a little bit and take some of the pressure off the bullpen. So you're down the number 7 spot in the lineup. You got Cozart on deck and then the pitcher spot.
Mesoraco 1 out of 3 in the game. Looks at a strike. And that ball is ripped into left center field. It'll be a base hit. And that will drive in Jay Bruce. So Devin Mesoraco's bat comes alive today. 2 hits and now an RBI. And the Reds lead is 6-4, and they're on the corners with nobody out.
Well, 13 hits for the Reds, so they've had a lot of guys on bases and swinging the bats well. Mesoraco lifts that breaking ball left center field gap, read by Ludwig. He comes around to score. Or make that Jay Bruce coming around to score. And Ludwig goes to third.
Well, we wondered, and of course we'll see how it plays out once the team gets into Pittsburgh, but we wondered if that first at bat today by Mesoraco, it's the first really well struck ball he's had recently through this slump. And even though the ball was caught on a diving play, we wondered, you know, might that get him going? Well, he has a couple of hits and now an RBI, and neither one of the hits were particularly, you know, hit all that hard, Chris, but Mesoraco right now will take him any way you can get him.
You're right about that.
Any player will. One and one on Cozart, trying to get in the Reds' 7th run of the game. He's tardy twice. And behind 1-2. Skip Schumacher has moved in the on-deck circle. That would be Sam LeCure's spot. Roxton ready to roll in the Reds bullpen for the 8th. Knocked down by Ramirez, but he doesn't have a play. I would think that will be ruled an infield hit for Mesoraco or for Cozart. And that'll load the bases for Skip Schumacher, the pinch hitter.
Well, what a golden opportunity here for the Reds to put a ribbon on it for Brian Price. I'm sure he felt like that ball game last night, given the effort that Matt Latos gave the Reds through his 6 shutout innings, was a game in which they thought they could have won, maybe even should have won. But tonight, when you have 14 hits and you are threatening right here to really slam it shut, now's the time to be able to add a couple. They're going to bring the infield in, the Brewers are.
Schumacher a home run, 7 runs batted in. And first pitch swinging comes up empty. One career grand slam for Schumacher. This is his first plate appearance with the bases loaded this year. Now Wooten will back off the rubber. Wants the signs again from Lucroy. Ludwig, Mesoraco, Cozart. Third, second, first. Infield in, nobody out. And that'll get through into right field. 1 run scores. They're going to hold Mesoraco. The Reds lead now 7-4 on the pinch hit run scoring single by Schumacher, and they're still loaded with still none out.
The 15 hits the Reds have today, you see what it does, is tied the most of any game they've had this season. They found a few holes. They've also knocked some fences down and even knocked them over the fence, as Billy Hamilton did to start this ball game off a long time ago against Marco Estrada.
A lot of the folks, this crowd of 42,213, a number of them making their way for the exits. Still just a 3-run lead, and Hamilton fouls it away, strike one. Billy, 2 hits and 4 at-bats. A home run, singled and scored on the Frasier home run in the 5th inning. With all the talk about the Brewers beginning the year at 20-7, and now they are 21-21 since then. Perhaps a more accurate portrayal, though, of how well they've played lately. They have not lost a series in their last 7. They're 5-0-2. So this would be a big series win, of course, a much needed series win against this particular opponent for the Reds if they can finish this thing off.
Hell, everybody else in the division is rooting the Reds on today, too.
Cardinals are going to sweep the Nationals. Boy, that's a funny team, the Nationals. I'm sure Matt Williams feels the same way. They went out and gave the Giants a thorough beating, winning 3 out of 4 out in San Francisco to start the week. And their week will come to an end getting swept, it appears, in St. Louis.
A lot of parity around baseball.
Bases loaded, none out, 1-2 on Billy Hamilton. And that one into short left field. It'll fall in a hit. That'll bring in another run. 6 consecutive singles here in this Reds 8th inning, and still none out. Hamilton, his 3rd hit of the game, and drives in his 2nd run of the game, and that's all for Wooten. Boy, this has been a great series for Billy Hamilton. Had the game-winning hit here on Friday night. Had 2 hits and a home run, scored twice, drew a walk in the game last night. And now 3 hits, 2 scored, 2 batted in here in the series finale. We'll be back in a moment. Ohio break it all down. It's called Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. And Jim Day hoping to talk to one of the Reds in a celebratory mood, as they have come up with 3 runs on 6 consecutive singles here in the 8th inning to chase Rob Wooten. And now Mike Fiers on for the bullpen, just brought up from the minor leagues.
Well, he made his season debut on Tuesday. That was against the Mets, and he tossed a scoreless inning. But today, big day for Mike Fiers as he turns 29 here on this Father's Day. He was in 11 games last year, 3 starts, and he started 22 games in 2012 for the Brewers. Young man from Hollywood, Florida.
Just south of Fort Lauderdale. Todd Frasier, a 2-run home run to break a 3-3 tie in the 5th. And Fiers delivers ball 1. The Miami Marlins beat the Pirates in extra innings today, 3-2. Nationals are batting in the 9th inning, trailing the Cardinals 5-1. And here the Reds with an 8-4 lead, and the bases juiced. Fouled out play by Frasier, a ball and a strike. One and 2 to Todd Frasier. Zach Cozart stands at third base. Schumacher came off the bench to knock in a run with a single at second, and Hamilton an RBI single, the runner at first. Nobody out. 2 and 2 to Frasier. And there's strike 3 called.
That ball had a low cut on it. I think that's a situation where Mike Fiers missed his spot, but still threw a strike and froze Frasier.
Well, now Votto, the bases loaded and 1 out. Joey 2 hits today. A single, a run scored. His fly to left, fly to center. Double to left center his last time up in the 7th.
They've been coming right in there on Joey Votto. Marco Estrada dusted him early in the ball game, ended up giving up a base hit to him. That was back in the 1st inning. But after that chin music, Votto ran at the full count before he got a changeup that he lined into right center field. Fiers, a young man that went to Nova Southeastern University, the home of the Sharks. And our this weekend statistician, Tom Barbary, who is with you all the time, his son is going there next year to play for the Sharks.
Indeed he is.
To pitch for them.
Very excited.
Wish him a lot of luck.
Well, he pitched his team to the state championship game in Florida this spring.
That's got good coaching from Dad.
All you got to do is ask him.
So no wonder you two hang together.
2 and 1 to count on Joey Votto. Votto waiting on a 2-2 pitch from Fiers. That one nowhere near the strike zone. A full count on Votto. Votto taking a long time to get in that batter's box. That's normally not his MO. He's in there now before this 3-2 pitch with the bases loaded and 1 out. And here it comes. Out off to the third base side, out of play. Votto a chance to truly just blow the doors off this one. Right now they're still within that grand slam range we talk about from time to time. Get a base hit here and you can forget that. Or take a walk to bring in a run. That makes it 9-4. Good at bat there by Votto.
Kind of an amazing inning, really, when you consider the Reds have scored 4 in this inning, have the bases loaded, and have only received 1 walk. Normally, when you've got a big inning, there are some bases on balls behind the whole action.
Well, we thought a few folks had left before. There are more of them rolling out of here now. A 9-4 Reds lead, but we're still only in the 8th inning. We have a ways to go in this one. These Brewers are obviously having a very good year. They have gone out and earned this first place in the National League Central. They've taken it to the Pirates. I mean, they've really taken it to the Pirates. A team, of course, that beat the Reds in a 1-game playoff in a wild card game a year ago. But, you know, when you watch them play this weekend, Chris, you come away, at least I do, with a couple of impressions. They can be a dangerous offensive team. They clearly are a team that is very confident and believes it can come from behind. I think they have good, I wouldn't say great starting pitching. The numbers might say otherwise right now. We did not see their ace, Kyle Loesch.
Or we did Peralta, who's turned himself into a pretty nice pitcher.
So I say it's a good starting rotation. Potentially very good, and I think Peralta's a key there.
Yeah.
Along with Estrada. Because, you know, you pretty much know what you're going to get out of Loesch and Garza and Gallardo, guys that have been around for a while. But I'll tell you that watching this weekend, I would be very concerned if I were the Brewers about their bullpen.
I think they probably are. Remember, the Brewers over the years have been a team. Doug Melvin, the general manager, has never been shy about making a big deal right at the trading deadline.
So bring in another run and a fly ball to right center field. This will plate Schumacher. Gomez is going to throw to third, but Hamilton's going to stay put. And that makes it 10-4. Brandon Phillips, 3 RBIs in this game, and 6 of them in this 3-game series. Boy, you're talking about a guy who stepped up and delivered. The 2 guys that really delivered the goods in this series, if the Reds are able to make it 2 out of 3, are Brandon Phillips and Billy Hamilton.
You're exactly right. Well, Brandon has been pretty consistent all year long. I mean, that batting average has hovered around the 270 mark for a long time. But it's nice to see Billy Hamilton beginning to feel a little better, get on base pass, showing some power, home runs from both sides of the plate.
Now Jay Bruce about it.
And I agree 100% about, you know, this bullpen being exposed in this 3-game series. This is the first time the Reds have really seen it like this.
You know, the Reds win today again. This, Chris, not to interrupt, but I mean, it's 2 series now. The Reds have gone toe-to-toe with the Brewers. Reds beat them 3 out of 4 in Cincinnati. And this could be 2 out of 3 here in Milwaukee with still, what, 13 more to go?
Right. Well, one more thing about the Brewers and their possibility of trading at the deadline. You know, they've got the support of ownership. They'll take on some salary if they need to. And the other thing is, from what I understand, the Brewers have some very good prospects coming up in the minor leagues. Now, they may have to use them as trading chips in order to bring in. But if they need an arm or if they need a bat, they've got the players down in the minor leagues to make it perhaps at least something to talk about with somebody who's got somebody to trade. But you wonder who may be. The way there's so much parity in baseball, I know we're a long way away from July 30th. But who will be sellers, if you want to call it that, and who will be willing to deal some of their players away? And who may think they're still in the race? And fires is all over the place. Got a delivery. Reminds me a lot of last night's starter, Giovanni Gallardo. Right over the top.
There's a high drive into deep right center field, and Gomez will get it on the track to end the inning. 10 men back, 5 score. Reds lead 10-4.
Quaker State 400 in the Kentucky Speedway Getaway Sweepstakes on board the Fan Express. Enter keyword drivers on the entry page at foxsportsohio.com. I'm Jim Day, and in the Reds clubhouse all season long, when Alfredo Simon is pitching on that day, there's some razzing in the clubhouse because Alfredo sits at his locker and talks to his right arm before he makes a start. So you saw Sam LeCure in the 1+ innings that he pitched, coming off the field, talking to his arm. This was to razz Alfredo Simon a little bit right there. He was looking into the dugout, talking to his arm, and he said, "I just want to give the team a spark," in pure Sam LeCure fashion.
Well, you know, I was hoping that, Jim Day, you would give our broadcast a little spark. They were just doing that song, you know, Jump, where they, they play it at the end of the third quarter at University of Wisconsin football games. I'm sure they play it in a lot of sporting venues all over the country, but it became very popular in Badger football games at the end of the third. And I mean, when they just played it in between this last half inning, you should see the changes for the Reds, including Tony Cingrani, his first appearance out of the bullpen. I thought, Jim, you might start moving around a little bit down there.
I did want to show off the 2-inch vertical.
I don't blame you. Well, there you see the numbers on Cingrani as a starter. He came out of the gates so strong, went on the disabled list, and then Chris, after coming back, was not the same pitcher, and he started 3-0 now on Chris Davis.
Well, not the same pitcher because we just didn't see the velocity that we saw. Remember that first game he pitched against the St. Louis Cardinals? He came out the first ninth throwing 95 miles an hour, nearly unhittable for the first couple of innings there. I mean, just threw nothing but fastballs. Had a trip to the DL, and I think he's just still trying to find it. Still trying to find his release point, his command. We've got to remember he is a very inexperienced pitcher as far as overall major league time. And he's got kind of a complicated delivery anyway. Very long arm, long legs, and sometimes it doesn't take very much for those guys to get even just a little bit out of whack that sends your control off. And he walks the first batter of the inning.
Mark Reynolds batting. And Cingrani starts him ball one. Even though Cingrani may not be happy, and he's not voiced any displeasure, he's been a team guy all the way. That's the kind of guy he is. He says, I'll do whatever they want me to do, and whenever I'm asked to pitch, my job's to come in and get him out. But, you know, he has a unique opportunity here for a guy who lost a spot in the starting rotation. There is room down there in that Reds bullpen to get a chance to pitch and get some big outs.
Absolutely is. Obviously, were they concerned enough about Sean Marshall to put him on the disabled list? So they opened up a spot for Cingrani at the big league level. It's not like they sent him down the minor leagues and say, you need to go down there and get your act together. Well, they recognize this kid's talent.
Behind the plate, Mesoraco with room, 1 out. Now we have seen Cingrani 8 prior games in his career out of the bullpen. And Chris, we've talked about it many, many times before when the Reds drafted him, much like the pitcher they drafted in the first round this year. He was drafted after serving as his team's closer. And then the Reds, right from the get-go, said, no, it's going to be as a starting pitcher, and that's exactly what they're doing with the right-hander out of Virginia this year.
Well, that's normally what clubs do is they take their best arms, and whether they draft them as a closer, a reliever, or a starter, they're going to put that starter, put him into a starting rotation where they can stretch him out, where they can really, more importantly, work with the pitching coach at whatever level they're at when they throw their bullpens in between starts. Work on their delivery a little bit, work on the strategy of pitching in professional baseball versus, you know, college ball or even high school ball.
Liner to Santiago, 2 outs here in the Milwaukee 8th inning. And Ricky Weeks will now bat for Fiers. You can tell by the crowd reaction and the kind of applause that Weeks still gets here in Milwaukee. The fan base appreciates the same thing we were talking about a little bit earlier. This is a guy, a one-time all-star player for this franchise, one of the real faces of the franchise. They were building this franchise around him and Ryan Braun. And then for whatever reason, Weeks just became an unproductive player. There's no other way to put it. Very low batting average, no more power, infrequently getting on base. He always had some issues defensively. But he's a lifelong Brewer. That's the way he used to hit the ball right there. It's caught by Jay Bruce, and that will end the inning. We're off to the ninth. Cincinnati is scoreless 8.
Helped me develop a love for baseball by, getting me out there when I was young. He was my coach, and he taught me a lot, and just having me out there playing nonstop, and it, it worked out pretty well, I guess. So I thank him for that.
He taught me the right way to play. He gave me the first ball and first glove to hit with and throw with, and it's just been fun ever since. He taught me that team game, and I love him for that.
Well, as promised, our Miller time moment, and Mr. Frasier did indeed teach his son well in a 3-3 game in the 5th inning. After a leadoff single by Billy Hamilton, Frasier a laser to the deepest part of left center, his 15th home run of the year. That broke a 3-3 tie. The Reds had never looked back. Milwaukee got a run back in the 5th inning to make it 5-4, but then the Reds scored 5 times in the 8th inning off Rob Wooten and lead 10-4 as they will bat in the 9th against a new Milwaukee pitcher. They got him as a Rule 5 draft from Pittsburgh. Just turned 22 years young. Wei Chun Wong.
Well, they're interested in this young man. You see the other moves that the Brewers have made defensively. Reynolds goes back to first. Overbay, their other first baseman, takes over at first base. And Wong, a left-hander, was originally signed by the Pirates in 2011. Then they discovered right after signing him that he needed Tommy John surgery. So they voided that contract and then signed him to a new contract. And because of that little administrative deal there, he needed to be protected on a roster. And when he wasn't protected, that's when in last December that the Brewers came into the winter meetings and picked him off the AAA roster of the Pirates and said, we've got to keep him on the big league team all year long.
It is going to be a 3-double day and a 4-hit day overall for Ryan Ludwig. Well, he's got to feel mighty good about that.
And he sprayed them all over the ballpark, too. He's had a double to left, a double to right center. Here's another one to right center field, and 11 of them on the year. The Reds are not done yet. They have had 17 hits.
Season high. And now Mesoraco, he has 2 of those hits. And he now has 3 of those hits. On to third goes Brian Ludwig. I think the last time the Reds had a pitcher that they picked up in the Rule 5 draft who wound up sticking with a club, and remember, in the Rule 5 draft, if you take a player from another organization in that draft, they have to stay on your major league roster the entire year, or you can offer them back to the team from which you took them. And the last guy that found success in the big leagues with the Reds, but it took a little while, was Jared Burton. You may remember they brought him in, I think from Oakland it was, if I'm not mistaken. And they gave him a chance to pitch very early in the year. He did not throw the ball well. He was extremely wild. He had never pitched above Double-A. And then he went on the disabled list. And when he came back, I remember the game like it was yesterday. The Reds bullpen that year was so bad. And the team was playing at Shea Stadium in New York. Pete McCannon had taken over for Jerry Narin as the manager by then. And the pitching coach was Dick Pole. And the Reds were in a game as that one's fouled away, and basically is relayed by Pete McCannon. He said, I look over to Dick Pole and I said, well, who are we going to get warmed up? And Dick Pole said something along the lines, why not give Jared Burton a try? He had just been activated off the DL. He wound up pitching in 40 games from that point on with an ERA in the very low 2s. And had a couple of pretty good years for the Reds. Now for Wong, you have kept him on your major league roster this entire season, and he has pitched in 9 games. So they must really believe this kid has a chance to be a pretty good pitcher, because they are gobbling up a roster spot on the big league roster the entire year for him. On the ground at third, this will bring in a run on a fielder's choice by Cozart, so he gets an RBI for it to make it 11-4.
Well, the one thing he left out about the Rule 5 description, Tom, is that you can offer him, or you can call up the source ball club and say, hey, we like this guy, but we may not keep him on the roster all year long. Let's make a deal. We'll actually trade for him. So they work out a deal, and that's what is the most common way. But if at some point during the year the Brewers just feel like, well, you know, we're in the run here. We're in the race, and we need every roster spot we can with a productive player. And if this young man doesn't pitch up to a certain level of competitiveness, they've got a tough decision to make.
And Ron Renicky pretty much said yesterday when they made the moves after the game on Friday night, he said, look, we're carrying 13 pitchers right now. We're carrying 8 relievers. He said, which leaves me with 4 position players off my bench. And he said,
one of them a catcher.
One of them a backup catcher. The other one can only play second base. That is, of course, Ricky Weeks. Jeanette can only play second base. And that one thrown into right field. Advancing on to third is Cozart. Well, just to finish the thought, you got a backup catcher. You've got another player that can only play second base, whether that's Weeks or Jeanette. You have Lyle Overbay or Mark Reynolds. Reynolds is capable of playing third, a little bit of outfield from first base, but Overbay can only play first base. You could probably stick him maybe in the outfield, corner outfield to hide it. And then the fourth guy is a guy that a place where you've been bouncing guys up and down from the minor leagues all year long in Herrera and the young man we saw optioned out the other night in Falou. So by keeping Wong, they're one less short on the bench and one more in the pen.
Especially when you have not much in the way of versatility on the players you just talked about.
Well, this Central Division race is going to be a very, very interesting one to keep an eye on. Obviously, we're going to follow it. I think a lot of other people around baseball are interested to see how this whole thing shakes out. Cardinals and the Reds and the Pirates are three teams that all reached a postseason a year ago. Milwaukee, a very disappointing 2013, but a great start to this year. And when these two teams get together again in late July, what will the standings look like? Reds begin the second half of the season playing against the Yankees in New York. And then right after that series, they come here to take on the Brewers. Hamilton bounces one foul. And, you know, what makes it interesting is the number of games between these two teams. I mean, think about this. They're going to get together again July the 21st. That will be the first of 4 more series these two teams will play against one another. Swing and a miss by Hamilton. And that's a second out of the inning. Most hits, second most runs, third most home runs in a single game for the Reds here today. 11 runs and 18 hits. You know, now that I look back at the schedule, I forgot the Brewers will actually come to Cincinnati before the Reds come here post All-Star break. They're in town the 4th of July weekend. So that'll be the start of 4 more series between these two teams.
Yeah, the Brewers really, you see a different side of them now. I mean, I know they ran off that great record to start the season. They won a game in March. They won 19 in the month of April. They were 20-7 to start the year. But when you talk about their extra guys and their limited versatility in the field, and where one of their bullpen spaces is devoted to a guy who pitched in the Gulf Coast Rookie League last year. I mean, that wasn't even A ball. That's where you put the lowest of your lowest prospects. Now, he had a pretty good year. Pitched 47 innings and he walked 4 batters, struck out 42. So obviously the Brewers were scouting that league and they said, hey, maybe you want to take a flyer on this guy. But with the way that Estrada pitched, and he's given up, what, 22 home runs now, lead the league. He's in that part of the starting rotation, which is good, but not great.
This ball is launched by Frasier, and it's up against the wall. 2 more runs are going to score. Frasier has knocked in 4 runs in the game today, and it is 13-4 Redlegs. Boy, when that ball jumps off his bat, man, oh man, does it travel.
I mean, the first thing is, it sounds so good. I mean, it sounds like he's using a different type of lumber up there than a lot of other hitters. And it doesn't matter what part of the ballpark that Todd Frasier hits it just travels.
Well, now Sangrani will get a chance to bat. Joey Votto, you may remember, came out of the game defensively when the Brewers hit in the 8th inning. What a weekend for the Redlegs. 13-4 here in the rubber game of this 3-game weekend series. And they've got to bring this kind of effort to Pittsburgh because the Pirates have been playing great baseball up until they ran into these Brewers who went in there and got them on the just completed road trip. Now, the Pirates played very well over the weekend in Miami. Not an easy play to win, at least this year. Pirates got beat today in extra innings, but they won the series. On the ground down to third, and Reynolds will throw to Overbay, and that's all. Reds score 8 runs in their last 2 at-bats, and they're 3 outs away from a series win in Milwaukee. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Chevy. Visit your tri-state Chevy dealer today. And by Cincinnati Children's Hospital, ranked #1 in the United States in pediatric cancer care, according to U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospital. (13-4), Reds over Milwaukee, and our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Jay Bruce going way back to the 4th inning, had to get that ball off the bat of Aramis Ramirez way up against the warning track in right center field. That's only part of it. He turned and then fired all the way back into first base on 2 hops for a double play right there as he doubles up Carlos Gomez, our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Scooter Jeanette, the batter. As Cinbrani's trying to get the final 6 outs of this one. Billy Hamilton for out number 1. You know, we had the news and notes earlier, Chris, about the Pirates with their win yesterday, getting to 500, and the climb to get to 500 it has been for the Pirates, just like the climb to try and get to 500 it continues to be for these Reds. Well, you really do have to get to that number before you can even seriously be considered as a team that's ready to make a run. There's a pop-up by Braun. And this will be the 2nd out in the 9th inning. And the Reds will have a chance to get to 500 when they go rolling into Pittsburgh. He'll be 2 under when that series begins on Tuesday night. They have Johnny Cueto on the mound in the series opener.
Now 91 miles an hour on that fastball by Tony Cingrani, our Cholula flamethrower of the day. You'll be hitting a little dinner tonight on the way to the airport. Maybe pour some Cholula on there.
Why not?
You may want to pour some Cholula on your cab driver to get him to the airport on time. Or maybe cab is too broad of a term.
It's all relative. It doesn't matter what it is.
You want him to hurry.
Right quick. And there's a tapper down to third, and this should do it. And it will. So the Reds come to Milwaukee, and they beat the Brewers 2 out of 3. They're 7 games back in the Central Division. And now, Chris, it's time to enjoy this series and continue to take this momentum right into Pittsburgh, PA.
Well, it really should, because you proved something to the Brewers here, because the Brewers were flying high and the Reds needed this win. They did build a little momentum, though. The Reds did. Coming into this series, they had won the last 2 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers to split that 4-game set. But then you win 2 out of 3 here. You go into Pittsburgh, where the Reds normally play pretty good baseball, and it ought to be a nice week of National League Central Week rival baseball as the Reds and Pirates get together.
Indeed it is, and we'll be coming your way on Tuesday night. Reds Live, the post-game version set to